I know this youngin' wanna party. His girl poppin' Molly. I asked where she got it from. Them homies in the lobby. His first piece of pudding, now he talking all cocky. His girl laughed with a smirk and said, Reef, you ain't nobody. He drinking on Bacardi. We chillin' in the Mozzie, and we don't even care if it's stolen. Now you know we blowin' on the Molly, and you be hating probably. And while you punching clocks, we rollin'. I try to tell him my way. He moving the flyway. You really need to slow down. Honey moving sideways. But he like, man, I must admit it. Unconscious, I hit it. No condoms was vivid. Got a call from the clinic. I was caught up in the days. These threesomes had me weak, and I was caught up in the maze. Was lost in them legs. The Lord should be praised and being forced in the grave. I ain't playing, I'm just praying, cause I'm laying up with AIDS.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Onika, and you are tuned in to Connect the Dots. If you want to hear some information on sports, hip-hop, current events, you name it, check it out. If you haven't seen it yet, you don't know what you're missing.
So like I said, man, welcome to another episode of Connected Dots. I'm your host, Duke Icewater, aka Duquan. I got my special guest in the house, my man Kenny Parker, down with BigHomie Apparel and Kenny Parker Apparel from Brooklyn, New York. How you doing, my dude?
Man, maintaining. I ain't complaining, man. How you be, man?
Yes, man. Glad to have you on the show, man.
Glad to
Let
be
me tell you something, man. I've seen your clothing line before, BigHomie. I've seen it on a lot of rappers before.
Right.
So explain to me what BigHomie is about, and how did you come up with the name BigHomie?
Man, man, it was a long, well, not really a long story, but when I came up with the name BigHomie, man, it was, I used to go buy a lot of clothes. I used to be into fashion. That was always my thing. We stay fly out of Brooklyn. We always, Franklin Avenue. We always, we dress. But I just started, I used to be into, all the clothes, the fashion design and all that. So it's been a time, like probably like 2009, 2010. I'm just going to the store and I'm like, yo, it's ridiculous what they charging for this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, it's crazy. So I just started getting on, a different wave. Like, yo, it's not worth it. You start learning different things from doing different things and understand, yo, it's just, you understand the game of it. And I just felt like me spending my money in it, it's not worth it. So I got with my homie and I chopped it up with him. I was like, yo, man, how much they charge me to do some shirts? You know what I'm saying? And I basically was just doing it for me to wear. It wasn't even to put on the market or nothing like that. Just something so I can put on and, you know what I'm saying, and rock my own joint. It wasn't even like for sale or nothing to think of. I'm about to market this, I'm about to do that. No, it was none of that. But anyway, my homie plugged me in. Back then they was selling me like $20 a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? So, I just got a dozen of them, printed them up. And what was it? I think it was like, I'm trying to remember because Instagram was just coming around. We was already like working like with I'm thinking with Twitter, but like Instagram had just came around, so that probably was like 2012 or something. It was during the time right then when Instagram was just coming. So, people was taking pictures, and I took a flick, put it on Instagram, and the first comment I got from the picture was like, "How much you want for that shirt?" And I was like, wow, damn, I got something. I wasn't even, thinking on that level of it, but it was just the love I had for clothes. And I just felt I wasn't going to be paying all this extra money. I've been doing it for years. I do every trend, the Polo, Louis, it was just, you know how we do from our communities, we just own every trend. And I just got tired of just spending my money on stuff that I felt that it wasn't worth the money I was spending.
That's what's up. So tell me, man, humble beginnings. Your humble beginnings. I know you're from BK. Tell me what that's about. Tell me what part of BK, and explain to me Franklin Ave.
Oh man, definitely, man. Man, I came up, family of like seven siblings. I was fortunate. I had a mother and father. Came up in a household, mother and father. My area. It was that era. It was rough in the '80s. Coming up, I was born in '74. So I was coming up as a little kid, seeing a lot of things and coming up. But in the '80s era, it was, Franklin Avenue was something, a lot of the boosters, a lot of jostling, a lot of stealing, a lot of drugs, dope fiends on Fulton and Franklin, leaning over. I was a kid, asked my pops, yo, what's wrong with him? Boy, come on, let's go. Just keep moving. Let's keep going. He didn't want to explain right then, but after a while, but that boy, they on that stuff, they on that, just things that we witnessed in urban communities, most of us that came out of them communities witnessed, but I came from the era from the 70s, the 80s. I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? So that, I came from my father from out the South Carolina, mother from out of Georgia. My pops, he brought the whole like bootlegging era, what they was doing from the South, from his mother and them and his ancestors, was doing. He brought that to New York. So he had the basement. We used to party, that was the party place. They come on the weekends, all these people from South Carolina come hang out, party. I came up in that atmosphere, the music playing, the 8-track tapes, you know what I'm saying, playing, and he brought the South to Brooklyn, and he was, just the block barbecuing every weekend. It was a good era, came from a good household, but you know how it goes as time goes on, things evolve, things change, the neighborhood changes, it gets for the worse. You got to survive when you're in the belly of the beast, like anybody else that had to survive in it and indulge in certain things. You had to be prepared to go through what you're gonna go through.
Wow. Man, so tell me, man, I seen you a couple of pictures of you behind the wheels of steel, man. Was you a
Yeah,
DJ back then? Cause
no,
I was.
my brother used to rock out. You know what I'm saying? My brother was on the wheels of steel. He used to be cutting up. My brother was, he was the one. Everybody used to come to the crib back. He used to cut up. Most you would catch me is behind his, turntable. I got the old Polaroid pictures, the old, I always, my main thing, in the industry, I basically would, I had a lot of, different clients, a lot of people I used to work with, and I knew personally, and I moved around with and did a lot of different things. But, I was always in the zone in my thing. I always kept it to my hood, kept it to me, in the background, like the Clarence Avon, like keep it in the cut, keep it quiet, and, and survive this motion. But, right now it's about this fashion thing, you know, and being creative and bring all the flavors from back in the 90s and you know the whole 90s era, because I come from the era of like the low lives, all that's from my area. Like, my brother, he was a booster. He was into, my mother bought the clothes from all the boosters because my brother was with them. So, and this before the low lives even came around, but a lot of them descended into that, man, it was just the era, we came from the hood of staying fly, boosting. That was the thing. And polo was like the thing, Lacoste, man, we the Jerry G's, things that people don't even know about right now. You know what I'm saying? That, and I always just loved it to dress, always loved the fashion. I feel, the product and the stuff that I'm putting out is affordable. It's not where it's gonna kill you and it still look good and it has a significant meaning. BigHomie, you can take it for what you want it, but it stands for bosses and ghettos helping out members in elevation. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm always telling you when you see it, it's clothes with substance. A lot of people wear clothes and don't even know what they're wearing. It can be something that had a history of doing something to you and your people back, but people not conscious. They don't think on that, and I understand it. Sometimes it's, we be blind to the fact. We products of our environment. So, but we learn, we live and learn. You understand? But yeah, man, have clothing with substance. And that's my focus, giving something. I ain't trying to kill nobody. I don't want to hurt nobody's pocket, employ some people, and empower their future, just as well as I empower mine.
I like that. I like that right there, yo.
You know what I'm
And so let me
saying?
ask you a question, man. So who was your influences growing up? I know you do the clothes thing, but who was your
Right.
influences coming up back in the day?
Yo, my influences, I was influenced to the streets, which is, now as we get older, we live, like I said, we live and learn, but that was my influence. But my role model was my pops. You know what I'm saying? I looked up to the street every, in them days coming up, but as saying like my role model was my pops. He was a go-getter, hustler, hardworking man. You and as you understand as you get older, those are the qualities in life. Taking care of your family. A lot of things we got caught out in. We was brainwashed. We was brainwashed, and a lot of society still is. But I can't knock that because I know what it's like being that way. You see a tunnel vision, but when that third eye start opening and you see things for what it's worth, you start living accordingly. But and then you try to talk to certain people, but you can't really push it because then they start looking at you and call you the crazy one. You understand it, what I'm saying? It's the way it's designed, but that's really, my role model was the streets. I loved everything about the streets. Oh man, I was infatuated. But I also did know something wasn't right with that situation it was telling me to do. I wasn't clear about it. I was always I was always rebellious.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I was always the rebellious one, And rebellion, it was like a gift and a curse. It played hand to hand. But I did know what they was telling me during that time. This is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to do it. I didn't agree with it.
Mean. I like that. So did you know Buckshot? Because he's
Oh yeah,
he always
Buckshot,
says
yeah,
Franklin
man.
Ave, you know what I mean?
Man, Buckshot was our man, man. He was from over there in the hood. We know him, little Buck.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's started running with the Deceps or something like that. But Buck, yeah, man. Buck and them was the first ones that laid it down, man. For Franklin, or in that era, man. And and I always respect Buck and them to this day. You know what I'm saying? Even though the other stuff happens to them on social media, I don't get into that. Brothers is older now, and I'll be like, wow, but I don't get it. But yeah, man, Buck and them was like, the whole squad, the whole Black Moon, they was the run. They was the reggae. Man, they came and put Brooklyn on there, man. A lot of other things came out and it buried them. Corporations buried them. You know what I'm saying? Because, they wanted to give us the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Buck was my man. Shout out to Buckshot. You know what I'm saying, man? Evansville, we used to all be over there, and that was my little crew. And they had that joint, Partners in Crime. That was the name of the crew we had over there across the parkway, PIC. My partners in crime. And then when he met my partners, I was like, all right. They know it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was definitely an era right there. Okay. Definitely an era.
Man, I love your sweatsuit game. I was looking at your pictures, man. I love your sweatsuit game.
Thanks, man.
The new ones you got out, the Kenny Parker joints.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
also
yeah.
like the other ones with the zip.
Right. Oh yeah, with the joint.
Yeah,
we about to drop them back out, man. I'm about to get you right too, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Your vision be like, you know what? I'm gonna do it like this, or I'm gonna do it like that.
Yeah.
How you come up with that, man?
Man, a lot of times, to be honest, man, I really just sit back. I like to look at a lot of different magazines, a lot of different. Well, I used to start off on the magazines, like I used to be checking out them GQs, but a lot of time, like I said, it was my whole influence of the whole fashion. It really came from my hood, Franklin Avenue, and the way I come up with things. A lot of times, I look at old pictures and old stuff, and then I go through an era. I go through it. Sometimes I get caught into myself, and like now, as you get older, you try to put out stuff for older people. You don't try to have it too bold, but I have a lot of young consumers in them. We want this. We want to do this because I'm always out with the people. I want to know what the people want. Because and I get younger. I have younger people around me. Because it's a different era now. It's a whole different era than what 18-year-old wear to what 25 to 35-year-old wear. 40-year-old wear. It's different side. You know what I'm saying? But our culture is the culture of all fashion. That's why when they be trying to talk about when they be talking about, they got the new name for the older, what they be calling the older guys, what they call them they try to say the older guys who dress young. What is that name they call them?
They call us dusty and all that crap.
No, they call them something Asia, something they call I think academics made the name up for Jim Jones. It was something, man. It was something, but you think about it, our era created everything that's happening now.
Man.
Hands down. If you don't know, do your history. Our era did that. The baggy jeans, the big gold chains, the Come on. We did that. So if you want to be a 50-year-old and still have your baggies and however you dress me with your big logo, I mean, that's really your essence. I mean, the 90s is where the fashion really took it. That's when hip hop took it. Hip hop took fashion to a whole different plateau. The urban community just took fashion, man, and showed them how fashion was supposed to be fashion. You know? And that was the heydays right there. You know, all them clothes have been around. Tommy Hilfiger, Polo, they've been around, but when they got in the hands of us, we showed them how to rock it. We showed them how to present it. We did that.
Right.
And for those who don't know that or understand that, you know, you got your phone, you got the smartest thing in the world with you right now. Just do some Googling and you'll see. You know what I'm saying? And they can explain it to you better than I can. But yeah,
like
you know.
that.
But you know, my influence, my influence was always the streets. You know what I'm saying? That was everything that was influence. That's all I was tunnel vision with coming up, living. That was my influence. So anything we did, it basically come from, you know what I'm saying, that part of life, man. You know what I'm saying? From my fashion creativity, from everything I've dealt with, you know. That was always the root of it.
Okay. So how do you measure success, and what is being successful in your mind?
Success in my mind is being at peace. And that's success, man.
Right.
Being at peace and having control of your life and being a free thinker and learning how to think free. Learning how to go out the box and not be the following everybody what they doing. That's when you get successful. When you at peace with self and you got peace. You want to see your family grow, your kids grow, your grandkids, and you good. That's the best thing I could ever even have asked for. And not even know it. A lot of times we chase things and it's right here. And it's so far we can't even grip it because we're so caught up into the worldly, but I mean, people have to live and learn. You know, everybody gotta have their turn, you know, to understand. Because everybody's life is kind of sketched out for them. You know, everybody is an individual. That's why they kills me when they want us all to think alike.
It's crazy.
Nah. You know, but yeah, man, but that's how, you know, everything, my whole fashion thing, my whole thoughts. And when I sit back and design things, I just be zoned out. You know what I'm saying? I might take one, two, you know what I'm saying? And just start looking and just looking at things and feel it. And I like to get into the materials and the feeling and how the clothes feel on you. You know, and I'll put something on, or I may order some stuff and just see how it feel. I may try to get a tailor to stitch me up something, put something together, you know, and you just, you know, it's like, it's really, I just got a passion for it. Not about the money. I just love doing it. So I love like the passion, man. I love looking at my creativity and somebody putting on my clothes and be like, yo, I feel like the big homie today. Oh, it's like Superman with the S on his chest coming from Clark Kent. But yo, and I love it when I get that reaction from people. You know, so I love that when I get that reaction, you know? It's a great feeling.
Yes,
And you know, like I
ask
tell
you a
them.
question. Social
Uh-huh.
climate, man. How do you feel about what's going on in the social climate, man, with today's in the world? You know, I gotta ask because you can't leave a blind eye what's going on. How do you feel about what's
yo,
going on, man?
it's like no other. But I guess it's a cycle. And I think every certain amount of years we go through it. If you look on the history, but it's been going on. It's just so in the open. You have people that don't care because you know everybody else is tuned in. Everybody else is tuned into what's going on with they self. You know, we don't have no more. You know, my number one. I'm gonna tell you my big homie, and that's gonna tell you my whole outlook. My big homie. You know, besides my father. You know what I'm saying? My big homie is Fred Hampton. Okay, you don't have none of that no more. These kids is gone. They was kids, babies, but they stood for something. And they went out for that cause. You know, people not built like that. You know what I'm saying? You go do that history, and for those who don't know, the Panthers and what they brought to the table, Malcolm X's, what they brought to the table and what they was trying to do for us, and they died for that cause. And I don't know too much about what their daughters or their family, but there's no way in hell their family should have been needed for nothing from our community.
I agree. 100% with you. I agree, man. 100% with you, man.
So
society is crazy.
Yeah, man. And
really
it's just what it is.
Man, when you think about it. But
yeah, it's what, and I was very close, with Tupac family. You know what I'm saying? I had, my girl Jamala, I think she's out on one of these podcasts right now, but we had a relationship. Seshua, also I had a relationship with her, very close. I haven't spoken to them in years, but during the heyday, very tight relationship, So I done, we done, experienced some things and done been in depth and done heard a lot of things and seen a lot of things and what people speak on. We don't, really get into that like that. But it's knowing. When you know better, you do better. When you just know certain things, you just know certain things, man. And that family is a very powerful family. They stood, Asada Shakur and all them. I just want my people to check y'all history. Just you got it. You got the access right in your hand. Just do it. Just go down the rabbit hole a little bit. And, when that third eye wake up, and that thing start opening, then you will be like, wow. You take everything differently. Everything you're gonna take differently. That's a fact. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. How do you showcase your talent? How do you showcase your clothes? Do you do shows, or do you have a shop they come to?
I've been grinding so long. I got a strong, steady clientele. Before COVID came in, I had a lot of stores that I used to, ship them out to, but everybody started going online. So, started online shopping. So a lot of them stores I lost contacts with. So I really basically came back and had to start rebuilding the company, restructuring it, because COVID really took a lick, with a lot of things. It just took, I had a lot of things going on before then, but like with open stores and stores that was open, a lot of the stores that I was dealing with, like in New York and Atlanta, North Carolina, they shut down. So, really, I'm in the process of really building it back, putting it back in places. It's a whole digital market now. It's a whole different world. When I was even setting up the store, before when I had a Shopify store, it was like kind of simple. Now they got all this different stuff, and I had to call somebody, get somebody, yo, man, I need some help. I ain't too digital savvy, but it's totally different now. So it's really basing out, and how I always sold was like online, basically out. But the whole game has really flipped from with all this AI stuff. It's really is a big difference. It's like I always say with anything else, it's a gift and a curse. You got to take the pros with the cons and work it and benefit it and for your in your favor, for your best, But yeah, so right now, I'm online with it right now. Mostly everything is online. You know what I'm saying? Online that my mouth trying to drive apart me.
So tell me, man, one juicy story, just one.
Huh?
One juicy story that you wanted to share. One juicy story.
Oh man, let me see, man. Oh man, I got so many of them. Okay, well, I can. I mean, I'm gonna give it on the aspect right now of what's everybody.
Right.
Everybody talk about, they discredit my man Meech. I've been in the parties with Meech. I don't rock with Meech. You know what I'm saying? Me and God bless the dead, my boy DJ Big Cap. I ran, me and Cap ran the country forever. That was Biggie DJ, that was in my heart. But anyway, we used to do a lot of parties, a lot of shows. And anytime, we got with Meech, man, and Meech and him he was always a solid person. One time I called myself coming out and I'm about to buy, we about to buy our own bottle, they had the bottles in there. And they said, yo, man, no, man, yo, y'all with us, man. Nah, ain't nobody never buy no liquor. Don't you know, I'm feeling salty,
Right.
That's just, and I'm looking at him like, nah, man, we doing our thing, you know how every a man, the ego, that shit, we doing our thing too. We can buy our own liquor, but it was all love. And the brother was always a good brother, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't know. I see a lot of these kids on the internet, not even say kids, just people with their own opinion. I'm not knocking what they say or how they feel, but I would say, I would beg to differ. That's a strong stand-up guy. You know, a lot of people like 50, so you know how the game is now. If I like you, whatever you say is valid, you know. So, but you know, Meech is a very strong guy, and them boys knew how to party. You know, party, and you know, we all party, but you know, they partied and we had a good time. And I mean, that's a story. I mean, but I just want to keep it mild, you know what I'm saying, to keep everything. But that was a good, you know, just from just the first thing to pop up in my mind right now, you know, because that's what's, I think, the latest thing I was really talking on. Like, wow, they discrediting a real G. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't about none of that playing gangster, being gangster. He was a good brother, you know, no matter how he did it in his circumstances, but he took care of a lot of people and he was sincere. You know what I'm saying? And when you see a person in the street that's getting money like that and not on that mentality, because the era I came from, you had to be gun ho, you had to be this, you had to stand a certain way just to hold your fort. Nah, but he had people around him that got busy, but that was never that man. And he never portrayed that. He never fronted like that. His whole time getting money. And they made history doing the game, you know what I'm saying? But he never portrayed that. So for all that don't know, if it's relevant to you, you know, but nah, you know what I'm saying? Them brothers stand up if you want to talk about the streets, you know, and they did it in a way like not nobody else did it. They didn't have to do it violent. They had unity.
Like that.
You know what I'm saying?
So tell me, man, what would you give an up and coming person, you know, advice that want to be in the game as far as making clothes and all that stuff? Because I have a company too.
Right.
I've been in the game for about 4 years.
Right.
I've been watching other peers that I like and everything like that. And
right.
now coming to see how you do your thing, you're like another favorite. So
right.
what would you give up and coming people trying to be like you? What's the best advice you would give them, man?
Man, the best advice is to understand your business. You know, understand your business, understand whatever you do, because a lot of times you can just do it for the love of it and the compassion. But if you turn it into a business, understand it. You know, I feel that's something with everybody, with anything they enter. Any industry, any corporate, understand your business, understand, okay, if I want to sell this share out, sell this, build it up, understand your business and understand your goal, what you're going to do with it. If I'm going to build it up to sell, because that's what they did a lot of times, build companies up, sold companies. That was like the Russell Simmons blueprint. You know what I'm saying? Take a company with $1 million, sell it for 100 million. You've seen Rockaware do it. You've seen Fat Farm do it. You've seen Sean John do it. That's what took them to the mogul stages of the money. But that was then. This is a new day and time. And all you have to do is be you, because everybody creativity can make them their income in some kind of way, but just understand your business. You know, because everybody's going to do it different. We all want to do it in our own way. Well, I don't want to do it like you. I don't want you to do it like me. You can take bits and pieces from what I do and create it into your own bubble. Like I can take bits and pieces from what you do. I'm not going to, you know, it's called create. That's what I always looked at people. I never looked at competition. I was brought up in the game to be like competitive. And I always looked at there's enough money and enough clothes for everybody to wear. Just as well as they made Lacoste, just as well as they made Polo, just as well as they made Oscar. You know, it's enough. Just do what your passion tells you to do. You know, figure yourself what you're doing. You know, you can take other ideas, you know, of things that you probably looked at or was inspired by, but you mold it into your own thing. And that's what I call your creativity, you know, but understand your business. Nobody's gonna want to do it like the next person. I don't want to do it like that person. I want to do it like I did it. You know, I could have took tips and looked at a certain things and okay, boom, that's good. But everybody is unique, and everybody have their own uniqueness. It's about digging inside and finding out who you are, what you are. Don't be distracted. Know your business.
That's dope, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. So, like I said, could you drop your information? Let everybody know how they can contact you if they want merch.
Right.
Give me everything, man. Give me
Yo,
everything.
y'all can catch me. Y'all can hit my Y'all can go to my what's that? I always have an issue with that. My Instagram, BigFish718. You go to my Instagram, my Shopify store, all that's in my heading, up in my page, the header. You can go to my what's that what's that other Facebook. You go to Facebook on my store, everything is in the heading. And that's basically how you can catch me right now. And I got what's that? My Facebook is Kenny Parker. Kenny Parker on Facebook. And I also have another page, K Parker Apparel, BigHomie LLC. You know what I'm saying? That's the business page, but Kenny Parker is the page where I'm mostly interactive. Y'all can go into the bios ahead and the link to the store is right there. And come and check me out. I got a lot of stuff coming, up and coming, still creating, still making. We coming out with this ill spring stuff. And right now we keeping it real discreet. We gonna, I just can't wait to let y'all see it, man. It's gonna be hot. I don't even want to give it up until I post them and blast it off and let y'all see it. But we gonna be real hot for y'all, man. This spring. Check out the spring. And the sweatsuits right now is definitely banging. The olive green shit is bonkers. Crazy to death. Crazy to death. The blue, the royal blue, the stupid. Y'all go in there and check it out. Good quality. Y'all gonna wear it. BigHomie. Bosses and ghettos helping our members in elevation. Remember that. Apparel with substance, not just a fucking logo, nigga.
Talk that talk. Talk that talk.
Yes, man. But now y'all come check me out though, man. Definitely, man. I appreciate it. And I guarantee y'all will be satisfied with anything y'all touch up there and get. And we still, and there's always room. We always still growing, baby. We always still growing. I'm always still taking ideas, so y'all can always come to my page, give me different ideas. And if I'm feeling the idea good enough and it's nice enough, I'll customize it for you, make it happen. Boom, boom. We do what we do, keep it working. But that's how we doing it over here.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's how we doing it.
So again, this is another episode of Connected Dots. I'm your host, Lou Icewater, aka Duquan Hicks, with my special guest, Kenny Parker from Kenny Parker Apparel and BigHomie.
That's right, baby.
You know what I'm saying?
We here, man. Good having me,
up,
man.
Franklin Avenue, stand up.
Salute the hood, baby. Park Place, Lincoln,
Salute.
Eastern Parkway, Bed-Stuy, everywhere, baby. BK, we here. Good for having me too, brother, man. Tell Shy I said what up, man. Let my boy Shy said what's goody.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Right. Appreciate you, man. You have a good one. Peace.
You too, no doubt.
All right.
Thanks for coming, too.